all of Rex's
Yes.
children. That's all of Rex's children. That's Madge, Willard, and Osmond, Tinker Turnbull, and Maude's cousins. Sometime in the 60s, have fallen into a well, and Maude and her pet are attempting to get them out of the cave/well. Would you like to be the Tinker Turnbulls, or would you like to be Maude and her pet?
I'll be the Turnbulls.
And action.
Maude, can you hear us? Maude,
Hey,
Maude Goodman.
Hey, where's that sound coming from? Oscar, Osmond, Willard, Madge, where are you? We were playing hide and go seek just a moment ago.
We don't hear you dumb happy.
What?
Wiggle over.
I ain't no dumb harpy. I'm just looking for you. Where are you?
Down here, down in this well. I think Willard's broke his leg.
Is that him crying?
No, that's something else.
Oh, what else is down there?
That's none of your concern. Find us a rope.
Where in the heck am I going to get a rope from at this time of the evening? Tuppence, go fetch me a rope.
Don't cuss. I don't think that guinea pig is gonna come back with much.
I can see him already collecting twigs. Here's some twigs.
Ow, my eye.
Madge, why are you not talking?
Maude Goodman, you're good for nothing.
Osmond, why are you doing all the talking? Did you already eat Willard and Madge?
Willard's passed out, and Madge is taking a vow of silence. You know that?
That's my mum. She's shouting, it's time for my evening meal. Bye.
No, don't go. Please, call for help. Willard? Help.
Maude, it's a Maude Cast. Well, garden woman, but not by us. Le Garfield French comic love and a ruined Sunday best, but you got a new one. Todd is the jar of shame. Super secret wind chime maker. Least important character in TV history. Straight woman or villain. That's the choice we gotta make. Maude Cast. Season 2, episode 14.
Yeah, episode 14.
Who would have even thought it?
Both the viewership and audio quality decreasing week by week.
We're now increasing again.
Hopefully.
Don't eat ham, buddy.
Oh yeah, did you see that?
That's your new catchphrase from the last episode.
Really? Oh yeah. I also said that to someone on Facebook.
Oh, you said it in the last episode, don't eat ham, buddy. I in fact, when you first said it, I thought it was just a silly line. Then I realized it's Don't Have a Cow parody, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, I get you. Hello, good morning,
Hello.
and Nedcom. Don't eat ham, buddy. Sound quality of audio 13, you already mentioned it. No apologies. You know why it was so bad? Because we were in prison. We're in jail. And there's not a lot we can do about that, is there? So
Underwater.
Sorry?
Underwater jail.
Underwater jail. A prison from which no man can escape unless he's a very good swimmer.
Like us. Which is why we escaped.
This is why we escaped, but we didn't escape. We're actually in there right now in solitary confinement, but we managed to put together a telephone made out of old cups, and that's what we're recording on this week. So like fingers crossed, better audio quality.
It probably will be.
Brought to you by the Maude Casting Corporation, division of Dibney Multi-Global Conger Eels Incorporated. Who are our sponsors, Nathan? Would you like to list some of them?
Sure. We have Lost from television.
Yes.
Twin Peaks from television.
Yes.
Maybe more specifically, The Log Lady. RuPaul's Drag Race Season 6 and potential All-Stars 9. Contestant Vivacious.
Oh.
Scott Walker.
R.I.P.
Rip. There's one I missed before Derrida.
Cerebus the Aardvark.
Cerebus the Aardvark from the comics. And Jacques Derrida and Requiem for a Dream.
Jacques
And Susan Boyle.
Susan Boyle, rest in peace.
The woman who rolls her eyes before Susan Boyle starts singing in the audition.
Oh my goodness. She didn't know what she was in for, did she?
No.
Those videos appall me, though. They're all over Facebook and YouTube, right? Of this Simon Cowell mocked this child until he started singing, and then the kid can sing really well.
Yeah, it touches of the nation. I imagine Maude likes those kind of videos.
Do you think Maude Flanders would like those kind of cheesy ass videos where it's obvious that the kid's clearly going to be a brilliant singer? Why does Cowell keep falling for it?
It only worked the one time with Susan Boyle because that was the first time that they, they played the goofy music. Oh, look at this idiot. This is going to be funny.
Yeah.
And then she changed the face of television.
Changed the face of popular music and television until her unfortunate death on the internet. But she's still alive in the real world.
Yes.
So
unless she's died last week.
No, I don't think so. They probably would have made the news. Here's a Jacques 10-15 Derrida quote for you. Not as on the ball as last week, but still pretty good.
The poet is the man of metaphor, while the philosopher is interested only in the truth of meaning, beyond even signs and names. But the sophist manipulates empty signs, while the poet plays on a multiplicity of signifieds.
I agree. Maude isn't much of a poet. I don't think she's more on the philosophical side. And, she isn't big on metaphors. She's more of a real grounded kind of gal.
So we say of the four groups, the philosopher, the poet, the sophist, and the poet again, she falls strictly into the truth digger.
Yeah, I would think so. And we have an example of that in this episode because in the clips we see it is only Maude who can reveal the truth.
It is only Maude who can reveal the truth. And even after she reveals the truth, our doofus friend next door doesn't believe her until the truth is made evident in front of him or her. Give me a number between 1 and 250.
183.
183. Strap in for this one. Anne Lander's scrapbook. Secret scrapbook maker of gay civil rights. Free will, but I don't have to like it. Libertarian.
Is that the whole thing?
The whole thing.
Cool. There isn't a question or any sort of guiding information. It's just a fact. Not even a fact, just a sentence.
It is a sentence. Would you like to hear it one more time?
Yes.
Anne Lander's scrapbook, secret scrapbook makers, gay civil rights, free will, but I don't have to like it, libertarian.
Maude.
So there's two ways. I feel there's two ways you can go with this. You can go down the scrapbook route and tell us all about Maude's secret scrapbooks, which we talked about a little while back. Or you can go down her opinion on gay rights and being libertarian.
I'm going to do both. I think.
Please do.
I think she scrapbooks quite a lot. I think she scrapbooks whenever she can, and we just haven't seen any evidence of it yet. But that seems like a very Maude thing to do. I suppose she already has to clip on Landers, so there's some kind of, Flanders scrapbook going on at least. But I wouldn't be surprised if Maude. I can see her go into like a tourist information centre and taking all the pamphlets that appeal to her and putting them into a nice little aesthetic scrapbook. And I don't think Maude would have much of a problem with gay rights and libertarianism because, I don't know, she's very churchy actually, isn't she? In the current in the 2020 climate, I think maybe Maude will have come around and will be one of those Catholics that doesn't hate everything. Christian, not Catholic. But who knows? She's already dead by the time it becomes legal to get gay married in Springfield, so she never had a chance to protest it anyway.
I agree. I think her scrapbook will be pretty well curated.
Yes. Exactly.
And I think she would fill that scrapbook with anti-gay propaganda that she downloaded off the internet.
Yes. Hate speech.
Hate speech. She'd have three different scrapbooks. One for Ann Landers clippings, one for Springfield tourist information, and one for anti-gay hate speech.
Maybe she has maybe it's some kind of secret, like she's got a scrapbook that on the surface looks like a pamphlet paradise, but it's some kind of hellish pop-up book, and when you open things, there's just a lot of secret subliminal homophobia. Yeah.
It's like a homophobic pop-up book that she makes herself when no one else is around.
For just for her eyes.
I fear we've gone down a rabbit hole here. Let's dig ourselves back out, because you know what I got this week? I got a phone call from our uncle, Statman John.
What?
You like to hear from him? You haven't heard from him for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, go for it.
Beep. Hey, Nathan and other boy, I'm up to my arms in flour. Me and Ergen, my mentee, we're up to our necks and elbows in flour, 'cause we got job for CIA. Woo! Baking for CIA. Woo! So as you know, I got taken on night line manager at Kraft Cheese, Wesley Main Kraft Cheese Factory. But then I bit off more than I could chew, 'cause I started going in the night making artisan Kraft cheese for brie and cranberry and all kinds of crazy shit. But they have security cameras in there, and it seems they've been watching me. And they have hours of footage of me using their machines to make me own brie Kraft cheese. So I got fired. But through my job as dark and lonely waterman, you know, I got the job where I'm trying to trap people into rivers and make them drown and stuff. But I got a job because it turns out CIA have a line of artisan craft bakeries around the country. What have you even thought it? And he said, while you're doing that, like trapping people in rivers, why don't you come and bake some craft cheese artisan for me and bring your friend Ergun? And I said, oh yeah, but that's not why I'm here, Nathan. I'm here to tell you all about your statisticians. But because I got depressed because I got fired and stuff, and I've been on a bit of a bender for a week or two. I've not got your stats today, but I'm going to take a wild stab at them. But I've got something for your podcast as well. So it turns out a house cat, 95.6% tiger, and shares many behaviors with jungle ancestors. So I've been reading this website called Cat Wisdom. Cats are just like tigers, so you can put that in your iTunes podcast. Speaking of iTunes podcast and new distribution channels, I have had a look. You got 25 downloads from your first 4 episodes of the Maude Cast. Now, that's a big increase on last time when you had only 4 downloads. So good work, lad. I hope most of that money doesn't go in Sonny Bono's YouTube big dirty pocket. Bye, beep.
Wow, almost a minute and a half with one stat, but that's why we like him. I also didn't know that drowning people in the river was a job, but there you go.
It's weird. So it seems like I did a bit of research on this. So there was a public service broadcast thing in the 70s about death who would catch people and trick them into the rivers. But little did we know that was a government-sanctioned job, apparently by the U.S. government, maybe to thin out the ranks a little bit.
Maybe it's going to make a big comeback in a big way in 2024.
Who knows? But some good stats there. Our numbers are picking up on the iTunes. So thanks to all you tens of people who have downloaded those.
Yeah.
Shall we move on to some content? Our government allotted banter time is now well and truly up.
Yeah. Let's just say a big thank you to our fan as well.
Our big fan. So I wasn't going to read out the letters just yet. I was going to read them at the end, but let's do letters now. So we got a real letter from a fan who really enjoys the show. So thanks out there for communicating with us. I enjoyed your email and I shall reply.
Yes. Thank you for the support. It's good. We're glad you're all enjoying this, but more specifically, you, the one regular listener.
The cups are in the mail, and by mail we mean bin.
Yes. Content.
Do you want to give us some context for this content?
Sure. This one, I pulled what Flanders may refer to as a boner with this one, because I thought we had at least another full episode worth of season 5, and we didn't. She was only in 2 very small clips in the rest of season 5, so first 2 clips of season 5, and then we're jumping straight into season 6 with no break.
Oh, good Lord.
No season development time. So, yeah. Well, but she's really not been in season 5 that much.
Well, we can do it. We can wrap up those first 2 clips, because there's some stonking revelations in those clips. And then we'll take a few minutes just to see if there has been a season 5 arc for Maudlin Goodman.
Good.
Clip 1. Maude, sleeping soundly on the first floor by the looks of it. I thought their bedroom was upstairs, but you can tell me more about that later. Elephant runs past the window. Ned leaps up concerned and shouts, "It's the 4 elephants of the apocalypse." Maude barely even responds to this from her slumber to remind him that it's the horsemen who are of the apocalypse, not elephants, Neddy. And she's smiling and sleeping. Then she wakes up to tell Neddy of his idiocy, and then smiles and then goes back to sleep immediately.
Yeah, I took a slightly different reading from this scene. I took it as Ned didn't wake up concerned. It was sort of excitement for the, he was about to meet Jesus, and Maude had to, calmly bring him back to reality. Like, no, you're, it's horsemen. It's horsemen. You don't, you're just excited because you want it to be happening, so you're pretending that you think it's elephants. Now go back to sleep, Neddy.
Self-delusion. He's delusional, isn't he? I did have a look at Neddy's face to see, is Neddy, he's looking up. Is he looking up because he's excited? But it was hard to tell. I'll give you it. I'm not going to argue with you. Could be excitement. You'd expect that from Flanders, from Ned, wouldn't you? Now, what would Maude have done had it been the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse and Ned had shouted, "Oh my goodness, it's the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse," and death on his flaming horse was stood outside the window?
I think she'd be ready. I think she's prepared for that day. As a good Christian, she's sort of, it's always in the back of her mind that today could be the rapture. So I don't think she would be. And there's an episode later on where they ascend to heaven, like the Bible episode. They do a Bible stories episode. And at the end, the rapture happens and the Flanders just kneel and pray and ascend to heaven calmly. So I think she'd be pretty calm about the whole thing.
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? Like accepting the rapture, but I guess it's like, it's like if Father Christmas comes, you're going to accept him. You're not going to turn down Jesus if he comes and says, "Come on up, you come up the ladder."
Yeah. Exactly. The room,
the
mystery room is something I want to get onto, because at first I thought they were upstairs. I thought it was a second floor situation. Maybe I'm wrong, but it looked like they were sort of looking down towards the elephant. But the bed's on the wrong side, and it sort of looks differently decorated. So I don't know. I don't know where this room is, but it's not the bedroom.
Inconsistencies. So maybe there's been an incident in their bedroom that for some reason was not covered in the show. Maybe the bath fell through the wall into their bedroom, or maybe they just moved their bed and it is the same room.
Maybe, because the window's still in the right place for now, but we'll see a few times that, much like the Simpsons house, where they have that sort of mystery rumpus room, and sometimes they have a basement, and, you know, certain rooms aren't there all the time. I think we have the same thing going on with the Flanders bedroom, in that the windows and the bed move to where they sort of just need to be. Because there's at least one more instance I can think of where Homer shouts out of his window into like their window, and it's sort of like, you know, they're looking at each other.
Yes, and we know that that's not possible for either of their bedrooms, right?
Correct.
However, I don't think it's an intentional thing to fool us. I think it just is laziness, and we just need this for the show. But have we talked about before how Kubrick designed the Outlook Hotel in The Shining to be deliberately confusing? There's paths that don't exist in the beginning of the movie that they walk down in later parts of the movie.
No, that's cool. I think you called it the Outlook Hotel, which is a Microsoft hotel.
It's a web-based email hotel. Yeah, it's called the Outlook Hotel,
Yes.
the Overlook Hotel.
Overlook. The 2024 Vince Vaughn Outlook Hotel reboot.
But what's cool, he deliberately designed the floor to be impossible.
Yeah, I like that. There's a lot of there's a lot of loose paths that go nowhere and some moon landing stuff. It's a great movie.
How about clip 2? Because this is a big one. This is one that you sent to me in the middle of the night, I think, and it was like, look at this. And I'm like, oh, wowza. So Burns, Smithers, and Bart are in some kind of control room, I guess in the power plant, or maybe probably Burns' house, right? And he says, I've had hidden cameras placed in every home in Springfield. I got the idea from the movie Sliver. Sliver? I had to look that up. I'd forgotten it's a Sharon Stone saucy movie, isn't it, from the 90s? Burns describes that as a delightful romp. So then we see a bunch of TV screens, and on them we see Lovejoy boozing. We see Mo acting out the scene from Taxi Driver in front of his mirror, the are you talking to me scene. We see Edna, and who's she getting it on with?
I can't remember.
Is it Brad Goodman? Is it him, or is it the?
It's the bowling guy, isn't it, Jacques?
Ah, yeah, Jacques, the bowling guy. We see somebody's bathroom. That's not explained. I don't know. Is that the Simpsons bathroom? You know? Yeah.
Homer proceeds to go into the bathroom, lock the door, and eat some flowers.
Oh yeah, I forgot that I didn't see the whole of that scene, right? So, but here's the thing. One of them, we see Maude Flanders just absolutely ramming spoonfuls of ice cream from a giant tub into her mouth. Looks like chocolate ice cream. Hard to tell. Looks as a black and white screen. Just at an insane speed. Just like full spoonfuls every 2 or 3 seconds.
It's a strange one. I feel like this is one of the ones I'd kind of forgotten about. This isn't one of the standout ones, but it tells us a lot about her. Firstly, the man that she sort of has a good opinion of has cameras all over her house.
She wouldn't disapprove of that, though, not after her own spying, surely.
True. So I do find it interesting that whilst Burns could have been spying on Maude, spying on Marge is a potential theory. Secondly, I like to think that even though she's gobbling the ice cream down, that maybe it's still unflavoured, in a hope that she's, sticking to her somewhat roots. But it doesn't look like it is. It looks like it's high-fat, tasty ice cream, and she's just shoveling it down, which I imagine she took from her greedy guts mother.
Is her mother a greedy guts? Have we established that?
I thought that she was, because she wouldn't have had, I think with the 8 Goodman kids, Turnbull kids, whatever they're called, Goodman kids, that she was probably relatively starved for quite a lot of her childhood. They were cooking raccoons in pots. So I think as an adult, she just, food became a touchy subject for her. And I think maybe Maude's got a bit of that sort of, genetically passed down to her. So in this moment where, she's so used to being good. The other theory that I have is maybe Homer threw ice cream in her face at the food fight and she hasn't been able to stop thinking about ice cream since.
Yeah, like, if you accidentally just, I was going to say something completely inappropriate for a podcast, but here's what before I was going to say, well, this is completely different. I was going to say she has a hereditary childhood trauma.
Yeah, she does.
But yeah, it tells us that we're assuming she snuck off to eat this big tub of ice cream because it would be judged very heavily by the other members of the family. So we're assuming they don't keep big tubs, considering the kids are not allowed to eat sugar. So the fact is that Maude has got these huge tubs stashed away, and when nobody else is around, she's not taking dainty little tastes. This is not a gourmet ice cream tasting. This is like she's having a food competition, but with herself.
Yes, I like to think that she had an hour or two free. She'd finished her most recent wind chime. And in these situations, she can't have the ice cream in the house. So we're assuming she's in her house. She might be somewhere else. She could have just gone to the Quickie Mart, bought a big tub of ice cream, under some pretense to Apu. Or maybe Apu's in on it. Maybe Apu knows that she has this sort of, she has a lot of squishy points, as we found out at her funeral. So Apu serves Maude with sugar quite a lot. So, and then she'll go home and eat the entire tub as quickly as she can and then throw it into Homer's garbage.
Yes, maybe she rented a hotel room and ate the ice cream, and then on the way back home threw it into Homer's front lawn, knowing that he'd get the blame for it. As a little bit of payback.
Maybe she takes it. Maybe it's Homer's and she's sneaking in and taking it, and that's one of her silent revenges. And that's why she sort of, doesn't really mind Homer too much, because she has these sort of, behind the scenes revenge scenarios that she pulls off.
Well, that's something I'd like to think is true. I'd like to think that she's getting back at Homer little by little in covert ways that are only revealed usual suspect style at the end of the movie.
Yes.
It was me that put you in that ice bath and took your kidney.
Yes.
All right, so that's it. That's the end of season 5 for Maude. It's not the end of our clips for today, as you pointed out. So what did we learn anything at all about Maude in season 5? Did she have a journey? Was there growth?
Kind of, actually. Now you think about it. The Homer Loves Flanders, outside of that, I think she only spoke twice. So not a lot going on. But we met her sister, and she also became a lot meaner this season, I think. Like, we'd seen her sort of with the statue of David and the Marge going to prison, that she had a bit of a streak. But this time she's yelled at Marge and Lisa, been angry at Homer the whole way through without not really trying to hide it, for the most part, visually on her face. And now we see her gorging ice cream secretly. So we're finding out that she's a secret keeper.
She's a secret keeper. She's a secret lemonade drinker, I imagine, as well.
Exactly.
She
is.
She's a secret lemonade drinker. So Shall we move on to the next clip, which is her first appearance from season 6? Does she appear a lot in season 6? Because she's in this episode. She casts a big shadow over this episode, even though she's physically not in it very much, foreshadowing her post-death appearances.
Yes. From the kind of list I have that I think is incomplete because it doesn't include any background things for now, but season 6 and season 8 are the ones that she's in the most.
Nice.
So
Well,
I think we're going to see a lot of her.
I, for one, look forward to learning more little nuggets, just like the last one you uncovered last time with the ice cream. Whew. Now,
yeah.
Clip 3, Bart. He's got injured somewhere in a pool-related incident. I remember this episode. It was one of my favorites. It's Millpool. It's the Millpool episode, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's a Rear Window parody, which is a Hitchcock movie, where I guess Jimmy Stewart witnesses a murder from his back window, but he's somewhat powerless to do anything about it until he gets kind of caught up in it a little bit. To be honest, I don't remember what happens in that movie. Bart's got his leg in a cast and he hears a high-pitched scream, so he grabs his telescope just in time to look across from his bedroom window straight into a window that has suddenly appeared on the side of Flanders' house. And he sees Neddy, who put his hands to his head and shouts, "Oh my God, I've killed her. What have I done?" And he glances around very suspiciously and pulls the blind down.
Yeah, she does cast a dark shadow over this episode, and I thought this was the first. We've already talked about the Maude death thing, so it's the second of the many. Maude dies before she dies, because they sort of play at this episode like, Maude couldn't possibly have been killed. Like, it's more that Ned couldn't have killed her, but the whole sort of the fallback you have in this episode at this point is, well, obviously, like, they haven't killed Maude off. There's going to be some kind of, what reason that she's away. Like, it was always, they weren't kidding anybody.
It would be very unlikely that it would have turned out that Ned had brutally murdered Maude and had blood all over his hands, and then at the end he was like arrested and turned into like a sideshow Bob, because murder, it's played for laughs, but you can't actually do it, really.
No, it would have sort of soured the whole setup. But for now, Bart fully, but he's just reacting to what he sees. Like, it'd be hard for him to think anything else in this moment. So, not a lot to say.
Clip 4, so Bart, with his telescope, which now seems to have some kind of microphone attached because he can clearly hear what the people on the other end of the telescope are saying. We see Todd say, "Where's Mummy? We miss her," which is nice of him. And Mommy has to go away. She's with God now, says Ned. More of that sinister Ned that we've seen 3 or 4 times, where Ned will say something that is, I guess in this case, it's not really sinister. It's just totally misinterpreted. But we've seen a couple of times where Ned said something sinister. The writers deliberately make it so that he's saying things that make him seem more sinister than he actually is. And Ned's looking guilty at that time. Todd leaps for joy, and Rod, with his fists clenched, out, "Yes!" I assume because they like the fact that she's with God now.
Yeah, again, sort of a dark foreshadowing for when, And they said as well in the, like, talking about the episode where Maude dies, they originally did have a scene where Ned talks to Rod and Todd about it, but they said it just kept playing as really sad, so they got rid of it. So this is sort of the only inkling we have to what that conversation looked like, and it's nice to see that they're somewhat on board with it. They don't, like, they know she's with God, but in the context of this episode, there's no reason for him to phrase it like this or look so sad.
Well, it's all context, isn't it? And how much of it is viewed through the skewed eyes of Bart Simpson? How much of it is an unreliable narrator?
Yeah, true. But Rod and Todd luckily, again, which is why it made Maude a good character to kill off if they were going to do it, because Rod and Todd take a lot of comfort in knowing that she's with God.
Yes, and as sad as it was, can you imagine if they'd just taken that clip and just spliced it in right after Maude died?
Yeah, it would have made them look somewhat heartless.
It would have made them look heartless. It would have been absolutely horrific.
Yes.
But because we know she's not dead, it's okay. So I guess context is everything.
Yeah, that's it.
Clip 5. Somewhat agitated Bart in his bed. Now, he hasn't slept for a while, you can see from the anxiety. He's got big bags under his eyes. All the family are gathered around his bed for some reason. And Bart shouts, Ned Flanders murdered his wife. But why? Asks Homer, concerned, before immediately becoming a sleazebag and wiggling his fingers like he does when he's about to eat a treat. And he says, she's such a fox. Marge is not happy with his statement at all. We're not sure why, whether it's because of the skimming over the murderness or the being hot for Maude. But anyway, Marge is not happy with this. She's not forgotten what happened a few months ago at that party. And apparently in Homer's book, foxiness alone is a reason not to be murdered.
That's good. That's nice of him, but in a way. But I like that... Marge doesn't have time for it. Marge is, first of all, he's saying it about a woman that might be dead. That's probably what Marge's main problem is, because I don't think Marge is overly... She knows Homer's a simple guy. You know, he's easily pleased. So I don't think the fact that he finds Maude Flanders attractive really bothers her too much. And but I think it's more the fact that Homer's just called this potentially... You know, she might be laying next door, you know, like dead in... Well, she might be dead in the garden, he's calling her a fox. As we find out later, is the fact that she dies doesn't stop him from doing that anyway, so... Well,
you know, death to Homer Simpson shouldn't stop somebody from being a fox. As Disco Stew also, you know, backs up when he calls her a foxy dead disco chick or whatever he calls her. So it seems like...
And Mo...
Yeah.
we haven't got into the whole Mo and Maude thing, that comes later, but... Mo's very disrespectful at the funeral.
It doesn't seem, to be honest, it doesn't seem like Maude being dead has really knocked any of her suitors off their stride.
No, I believe Mo says to Ned, if it was you that had died, I would have been on her so fast.
Yes, I do remember that one, but let's not give too much away for season 11 because it's still season 6. So... Clip 6, we see now that the action's hotting up and we see Bart crawling across the attic of the Flanders house for whatever reason. I'm guessing it's the Flanders house. Pointing at Ned and shouting, I'm going to stop you from murdering Lisa like you murdered your wife. Ned cannot believe what he's hearing. He clenches his fists up next to his face like a little girl and shouts, murder, and then faints very dramatically.
Yeah. I like Ned's sort of like whimpering is one of his best qualities. Like he has a lot of like little girl reactions to things, which is very very fun. The whole like I was gonna send it to you, but it's like 2 minutes long and nothing to do with Maude. But the whole lead up to this is like Lisa breaking into the house and she thinks she finds Maude's head in the fridge, but it's just a head of lettuce. And then she goes to the attic. But Flanders, they play him the most terrifying. Like he's genuinely quite scary. In that he just comes into the house singing, like under his breath, sort of slowly singing a hymn, carrying an axe for no reason. And Lisa's like hiding. She runs up to the attic, and he comes up, like raises the axe over his head and says, "It's time to put you away for good." And then they both scream, and then he just puts the axe back in where it's supposed to go.
Ominous. So they really, really like playing up that side of Ned, and I wish they'd have done that with Maude a little bit more. They could have made her ominous as well, but apparently they didn't feel that was necessary. They just kept her with being, terse with people. So
it didn't fit in with her vanilla aesthetic.
Maybe not. We could then still. This is all part of clip 6. It was a big one. We cut to the front lawn, and Maude is back with the family and Police Chief Wiggum, relation, and that other cop that's not Lou. And they're all in the garden, and the other cop's taking notes. And Bart says, "Murder, murder." And I can't read my own notes here. It says, "Murder." Maude says that. Maude says, "Murder? No, I've just been in the country for a week." She doesn't seem overly fussed that people are throwing these murder accusations around at all.
No, she seems like she's probably had a nice week in the country and she's in a quite relaxed state of mind. I wonder what she means by the country, though, because to me that means she went home to the sort of countryside of Fargo.
Of Springfield Township, North Dakota, where we believe she was born and raised.
Yes.
What's the name of that other cop? Does he have a name?
Eddie.
Eddie, yes, he does, doesn't he? So Bart says, "But I distinctly heard you say that Maude was with God." This is when we get one of Maude's only classic lines. "I was at Bible camp learning how to be more judgmental." And then she takes a little bit of a glance at Ned. So Ned got his classic line of "breathe through your mouth, breathe through your damn mouth" last week. And this week, Maude gets her classic line of "I've been at Bible camp learning to be more judgmental."
Yeah, this seems to be this is the quote that you saw of doing any kind of Simpson like book. Anything with Maude where it's got a little speech bubble. This tends to be the thing that she's saying. This sort of apparently seemed to sum her up the most, but I don't think it does because I think she's already way too judgmental.
She's weirdly switches between not being judgmental at all or outwardly, as in like not appearing to give a crap, and then just being incredibly judgmental and harsh, like when she says that her kids are not allowed sugar and anyone even bringing sugar near them is wrong.
Yeah, she supported Marge going to prison.
Oh, that as well.
So yeah. Marge is standing there listening to this woman tell her that she's just been away because she needed to learn how to be more judgmental. And she keeps her cool about it. Yeah,
it's almost as if she'd forgotten. It's almost as if that was an alternative timeline where that didn't happen. Or Marge Simpson is a very, very forgiving woman.
Or this happened before that.
Oh, we're in some kind of cyclical time where episodes don't actually happen in the order that we see them in. Good Lord. Let's not even get into that here. "We saw the murder and I saw you bury the corpse in the backyard." Bart points an accusatory finger and Ned breaks down. It's true, I am a murderer." And everyone's shocked.
They don't show Maude's reaction to him saying "I am a murderer." They show like Wiggum and Homer and Bart, I think, but not Maude.
That's true. Yes. But they do in a second go back to when Ned finishes and he says her favorite ficus plant. Is that right? Am I saying that right? And I buried the remains in the garden. And then we do see Maude gasp for a second.
Yeah.
And because Ned says, "I was hoping to replace the tree before you got home." And then we see Maude gasp and with her arms folded. But she refrains from any harsh judgment, knowing that Ned hasn't finished yet. And Ned, but then Ned says, he didn't have time to replace it, or whatever lame excuse he doesn't even bother to come up with. But she smiles and takes his hand, very forgiving, and therefore it seems the camp failed.
Yeah, she looks. She makes kind of a nice little loving noise as well. Like, I believe her in this moment that she forgives him. So, yeah, she's failed her mission of being more judgmental for now. She seems to have come back really zen. And there is always the possibility that she lied about where she went. For all we know, she went to an ice cream factory.
That's right. You should check her tummy and see if it's bulging full of ice cream before. Maybe she went to a Zen Buddhist retreat, but being an evangelical Christian, she couldn't admit it. Maybe she was cheating on big boy Jesus.
Maybe. So they're still holding hands when Bart says, "I heard a woman scream." And Ned says, "That I cannot explain.
and we see some slight concern on Maud Flanders' face. And then Lou rocks up with a dead plant, and he says, I found this, or I found the victim, or whatever. And then we hear Ned doing his very, very girly scream, and Bart says, well, that explains everything.
Yeah. Again, like Ned's scream. This is something they kind of kept consistent, weirdly. Like there's some things that they do remember, like minor details like this that crop up again and again. And it's just funny. It's just funny. Subjectively, objectively,
it's incongruous with his normal voice. And
yes,
very funny.
And it's the same duality as him having that sort of, like sticking out dad belly with his jumper on, and then being completely ripped with his jumper off.
Yes.
There's a second where Maud, and Luke comes back and says, I've found whatever. And yeah, she does look for a second concerned, like, oh, what if he has killed somebody?
But why is she not bothered about him killing her favourite plant and not even being bothered to go to the shop and buy another one?
Again, I think maybe this might have all happened relatively quickly, but Lisa breaks into the house because Ned leaves with Rod and Todd to take them somewhere, comes back alone. So he obviously could have been out and bought it then, and he didn't. So, but in his defence, he does just say, I was hoping to replace it before you got back, which isn't really a commitment.
Hope ain't going to get you anywhere in this game, is it? Where would one go to buy a plant in Springfield? We know where you might buy a slushie, where you might buy comic books, but where would one buy a plant?
I don't know, actually. I don't think we've seen like botanical gardens and stuff, I think, but I can't remember them going to like a Bent's, for example.
A garden centre or a florist or a home furnishing place.
Yes.
None of those. You think
maybe you have to order them in?
Really? Weird. Springfield's like big enough to have all that stuff, I'm sure.
Yeah. I'm sure somebody secretly owns a garden centre that we don't know about.
Homer Simpson is not happy with this explanation, and he rushes in with his arms folded in detective mode, poking his face into everyone else's face, and says, there's still the little matter of the whereabouts of your wife, he says, with his back to Maude. And Maude sweetly kind of wiggles her fingers and says, I'm right here, like, kind of cute, in a relaxed kind of way. Homer turns around and thrusts his face towards her. Oh, so I see everything is wrapped up in a neat little package. Maud's brow at this point knits, and she begins to scowl at Homer, while everyone else basically stares blankly at him. And Homer points out that he would. I'm sorry if it sounded sarcastic. I meant that. And I want to point out there that while Maud continues to scowl, I feel this is kind of American humor. If it was British humor, I don't think Homer would have had to point out that line about, oh, I meant that. I'm sorry if it sounded sarcastic. I don't think they'd say that in a British show. I think he would just say the line and then everyone would know what was going on.
Yeah, maybe. It's sort of explaining what we already know. But that's just sort of a Homer thing to do. He sort of doesn't understand what's going on in terms of, like definitions for things. One of my favorites is, I think Lisa says to him once, do you even know what rhetorical means? And he says, do I know what rhetorical means? Which is good.
It's a joke, right?
Yeah, it's comedy. But he basically also spits in her face with the word package. And I don't think he was being sarcastic either. I think he was just being rude to her.
He's a rude man.
He sort of, the whereabouts of your wife. Yeah. The whereabouts of your wife, I'm right here. I think he knew at that point, he was like, oh, okay, I've just made a mistake here. But he thought, I'm going to run with it. I'm just going to keep being rude to her. And then he looked around and realized that everybody had noticed. So he needed a way out.
He's not bothered.
She handled it.
He's not bothered if he's rude to Maude. He doesn't care in the slightest.
No. And she sort of handles it pretty well.
It's a tense relationship between.
He just scowls. There isn't really. Yeah. But again, she's been away to this fake Bible camp, so she's very chilled out. This whole sequence, nothing riles her.
Nothing riles her. She's really, and she just brushes it all off. Ha ha ha! You thought my husband had murdered me. Hey, don't be so silly.
Yeah.
As she probably should, to be honest. She probably should be like, "What are you people insane? Are all of you people mad? Get off my front lawn!" Because my husband, made a noise in his room. This is like some preposterous sitcom setup.
Yeah, and if I was Maude, I would be annoyed that I can't even go away for a week without this family accusing my husband of murdering me. Like, even when I'm away, they're a problem for me. But again, she just doesn't seem to mind.
Doesn't seem to mind. I don't hear those conversations in the Flanders house of like, we should move. We should move. We got this house at a good deal from Jasper the pastor, but we should just get the heck out of here.
Yeah, and they do. They do at one point, but they seem to be like, Ned is sad to be saying bye to Homer, and again, Homer just does not care.
Good Lord. What are we going to do with you, Homer J? Anyway, that was a good, quite a feast of Maude-related flotsam and jetsam there. We managed to get a good 30 minutes of chat out of that. So I enjoyed that, Nathan. Shall we move on?
Yes, let's do it.
So it's time for us to revisit Spectral Speculations, aka Developing the Goodmans. I'm not going to give everyone a recap of all the good stuff that we've speculated about the Goodmans, as in Maude Flanders' maiden name and her family. But I will say that myself and Nathan have both had a stab at drawing the Goodman family tree, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. You created the sort of layout, and I just sort of took it and changed a few things, and then you took it back and adapted it. It's good teamwork. Good
teamwork from the Cockney Watchdogs, and I think we've made up a lot of fun stuff, including those three. What are they called? The Turnbull. What do they call the kids who were down the well at the beginning of the episode?
I just remember Willard and Osborne.
They're the Tinker Turnbulls. They are Rex's children, who would be Maude's cousin, because Rex is Maude's uncle, Rex Turnbull. Let's dip further into a different era of Maude's life. Now, we are assuming that Maude went to college, went to university.
Yeah.
We're assuming that.
I think so.
I'd like you to tell me about Maude's first week at university.
Okay. We decided that she married Ned at 19, so she must have only done a year of university and then dropped out. And that kind of means she must have come to a English or Scottish or maybe European university, because aren't you still in high school at 18? Or is it the same? Do you then become like a college freshman at 18?
She could, in theory, have graduated around her 18th, I think, and then done a year of university before she married Ned. I think you're right with the 1 year idea. I think it's possible that she went to this particular university for 1 year.
Yes. I think she went to Edinburgh University.
In Scotland?
Yes, I think she lived for a year in Scotland.
I'd like to pitch that she went there for 1 term as part of her first year studies, because I think that she actually studied at Oral Roberts University in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which is an evangelical liberal arts university. I'd like to pitch that maybe that's where she studied. But I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know.
I think you're right. I think you're right about this. But she definitely did a term in Scotland, and I think she was the foreign exchange student, and she was swapped. And the person who went to Tulsa was somebody who would go on to be a notorious groundskeeper.
Oh, good Lord! Do you think that's the case? And maybe that notorious groundskeeper ran away from Tulsa when he was supposed to go back to Scotland. Although Edinburgh, of course, is posh Scotland. Willie definitely sounds like he's a Glaswegian, but who knows? Maybe he ran away from Tulsa and got 24 hours from Tulsa and never went back.
Yeah, I think that's the setup. So Maude spent 3 months in Scotland trying to live a different life, but ultimately decided she didn't really like it very much and came back to her home comforts in Tulsa.
In Tulsa, Oklahoma, down south.
I imagine she wore a lot of summer hats, like a My Fair Lady type of summer hat.
Fancy, with a poise. Sorry, with a fringe on top.
Yeah, yes, floating in perfume.
Exactly. Do you want to expand on that further, or shall we leave it there?
I think we'll leave it there. We'll talk about her time in Edinburgh a different time, but yeah, she did a year, and Tulsa. She did a year in Tulsa. Had a generally good time. Made I imagine fair weather friends, but at some point in the year she met Ned, and priorities changed. But why was Ned in Tulsa?
He's a pharmaceutical salesman. Who knows? Maybe he was already in the game at that point, or maybe he was doing something else. That's something that only a few things could tell us, because it's not going to come from the show. It could come from our next segment, which is Maude's Diary, but who knows? Or maybe it's just going to have to come out of our spectral speculations. But that was a good one there, Nathan. I like that we've uncovered one more layer of the Maude onion. And every step we get further away from your description of the Hugh Maude centipede last week, just that sets me back on more solid footing. So that's good.
Good.
Now,
Good.
We have time, just enough time for a page from Maude's Diary, should that be available. And then we got to ride this beach buggy home.
Yes, there is a page.
That's great. That's great news for me and for all our listeners. So hit us, Maude.
Dear Diary, today we are travelling with the Simpson family to have a picnic. I really can't be bothered. I don't mind the little girl ones, but I don't like the boy. I don't like the husband, Homer, and I can't stand Marge, if I'm being honest. So I don't think I'm going to enjoy today very much. But I've cooked my mum's famous apple pie recipe, and if I know one thing, it's that apple pie brings people together. So I'm going to paint on a smile, strap Rod into the boat safely, and we're going to set off for some food. Ciao.
And then there's a big gap, and then there's a lot of there's stains, like jam and like crust, like a bit of like crumbs that are stuck to the page, and it just says,
"This effing family."
That's it.
Well, I don't want to read too much into it, but it sounds like that might have been the food fight that occurred in our last episode. I think we talked about it.
Yes, I believe it was. Unless they frequently put Rod in the speedboat and drive around. But I don't think they went for many more picnics after this with the Simpson family, so I'd imagine this was the one.
This was the nail in the picnic coffin, because that kind of thing, you can't come back from it. But I like the line about apple pie bringing people together, because, of course, Homer threw the apple pie into her face only last week in our world.
Yeah, with glee.
With the Glee Club. You know what, Nathan? That diary was a lucky find. Not only is it allowing us to fill precious minutes of our Maude Cast, it's actually providing us with humour and a little bit of a glimpse behind the Maude curtain. Keep that diary safe. Do you think that's her entire life's diary, or do you think there's we're going to have to search for multiple volumes when we finish that one?
I think this one covers quite a lot of stuff, because some stuff happened, there was something in here from the day of her death. So yeah, this must just be the one. It is giant. It's like the size of 3 Bibles.
Oh, Well,
Like,
that's.
it must have been difficult to carry.
I'm a bit of a completist, and when you said difficult carry, of course she carried it with her. But she must have had it open on the table when the food fight happened. I imagine that's why it picked up all that debris.
I think it was she just was writing in the car on the way home or something, and she was still just covered in food, and it was dripping off of her face into the pages.
Oh, okay. So she keeps it handy, but she doesn't necessarily have it with her at all times.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's good. All right. Well, we've come to that time again, Nathan. Episode 14 is rounding up. Now, I hope we can still do that special-ish episode 15, which is still Maude-centered. A little bit of a twist on our format. Won't give too much away, but do you think we can still try that one for the next episode?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Excellent. So, song time, post-mortem song. Who's starting?
Me.
Yeah.
Apple pie.
Maud sleeping soundly.
Officer Eddie.
First floor elephants
Stampy.
of the apocalypse.
Goodman family tree.
Smithers by control room.
Bucket of ice cream.
Stuffing face with bucket of ice cream.
Rod and Todd Flanders.
Stuffing face with large tub of ice cream. Chocolate.
Screen freezings.
Oh my God, I've killed her.
Or poor connection.
Mommy had to go away. She's with God now.
Unsettling foreshadowing.
Foxiness is a reason not to murder.
Jimmy Stewart.
Jimmy Stewart,
Chad Bobo.
a.k.a. Fig Tree.
Sonny Bobo.
Bible camp failure.
Zen Buddhist retreat.
Oh, well, that explains everything.
Lisa Simpson.
Lisa Simpson.
Lisa Simpson.
Lisa Simpson.
Lisa Simpson.
Lisa Simpson.
Yes.
We did it. We did it. I think that might be our best ending song ever, but only time will tell. So that's it right now. We should be hearing Sonny Bobo singing over the top of us. What does he sing again? I got you, babe. Ooh, I got you, babe. Hey, I'm going to put a copyright restriction on you. Sonny Bono's dead. How is he listening to this podcast and putting copyright claims on our end music?
Beyond the grave.
Alrighty.
It could be its son.
The son of Sonny Bobo.
Yes. Sonny Simpson.
I am the Sonny son of Sonny Bobo. I would like to make a copyright claim on this highly popular Simpsons spin-off podcast.
Sonny Son Junior. Shabobo.
Bye.
Bye.